Welcome to the Maine Money Show, where Wall Street meets Main Street. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Jordan Main, president of Main Financial Group, and joined by Adam Freund, CRC at Main Financial Group. To our viewers at home, today's show is all about something we have to think about: taxes before, during, and after retirement. Do you think about taxes? Well, I know it affects all of us, so we're going to do a deep dive into taxes. Thank you for being with us. Jordan, how are you?
I am excited to be here. One of my favorite topics, taxes.
Yes,
how are you?
Love taxes. I am doing great. Thank you so much. And Adam, how are you?
I'm like my 401k, up and down.
That's true lately.
Well, before we dive into today's show, I want to ask you a question. What is one thing that you hate doing or dread doing even more than your taxes? One thing that you dread doing?
No question, the doctor.
Oh, yes.
I have this thing called white coat syndrome.
You and I both.
And my blood pressure goes through the roof, even just in the waiting room.
Right.
And it's at home, it's fine. You know, what is it, 120 over 80 you're supposed to be?
Yes,
but
yes.
boy, even a dentist office, any type of white coat person, I'm done.
I've had him call me from the waiting room, say, you got to calm me down. You got to calm me down. Wrapping gifts.
Really?
For me, I am not. I literally looks like a duct tape masterpiece.
Well, that kind of reminds me of your office. That would make sense, the way you keep it and stuff everywhere.
Drives him nuts. Drives him nuts.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I would have to say, for me, anything to do with math is like my biggest fear. Whenever someone says, I have a math question for you, I can just feel the anxiety. It starts to
That's
pull
kind
in.
of what we do on a daily basis for a living,
And
Cynthia.
I'm glad that I get to just talk to you
Just
about that,
host it,
because
that's
I don't
right.
have to dive in and get serious about numbers.
2 plus 2.
Oh my gosh, see, here we go. 4, thank you, how'd I do?
Very well.
So when we talk about taxes, let's talk a little bit in depth, if we will. Where are most people's taxes?
Well, if you ask anyone, if we usually, when we have our live events, we'll ask a question, how many in here think that you are paying too much in taxes or too little in taxes? And everyone thinks we're paying so much in taxes. But if you look at it, we're in the third lowest tax environment in our nation's history.
Yeah.
Wow.
And not only from a rate standpoint, but the bandwidth between each bracket. The top bracket, 37%, doesn't kick in till, for 2026, $768,000.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing. So if you look at the big picture, this is one of the lowest we've ever been. But it doesn't always feel that way, because people don't always take advantage of the tax breaks and all the different rules and laws that, as I think today we're going to talk a lot about, the one big, beautiful bill
Act.
There you go.
OBBBA.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And when you're thinking about just the taxable dollars, if you will, I know that there's a bucket strategy that you have, the 3 buckets. Let's talk a little bit about the 3 buckets.
Yeah, in fact, if our esteemed per colleague in the, there we go, there's the 3 tax buckets. And the first tax bucket that you see there on your left is ordinary income. Actually, that's wrong.
No, that's tax deferred.
Tax deferred.
But ordinary income is how it's treated when you pull money out.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you, Jordan.
I'm here to support you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The second, and notice though, it's full, right? I mean, that's what most people's accounts, retirement accounts look like. They're full of tax deferred money. The second one is taxable, and that's the stuff that you'd have in your bank or a regular brokerage account. And how do we get taxed on that, Jordan?
Well, the lovely capital gains, or it could be dividends and interest and those type of things. So you paid tax to get into that middle bucket out of your paycheck, let's say, and then you reinvest it into a CD at a bank, and you get that pesky 1099 INT, which stands for interest at the end of the year. So kind of you pay tax twice to get in that bucket.
That's wonderful. And then the last bucket you're seeing there on your screen is the tax-free bucket.
Oh, I love tax-free.
We love tax-free, but this is, I think the show is talking about how do we get from the tax deferred over to the tax free. We love tax free. So the truth about taxes before, during, and after retirement, because it's important too. After retirement, I think that means you're dead, but there's an important thing regarding your legacy in this. So this is a very important episode for people to really, maybe even tape. Do they do that nowadays? Tape?
I don't think you can tape it.
You could DVR something,
DVR.
right? There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
So flipping back over to the window of opportunity that we currently have, talk a little bit about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, if you will. See, it's a whole tongue twister. What should people be doing right now while they're still working, considering that we have the One Big Beautiful Bill Act?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that went into this bill. The big one is making the tax brackets permanent, right? So that keeps our third lowest ever tax brackets and the big width between them, the percentage is low. That's permanent. But a lot of other things in this bill expire in 2028.
Right.
So there are things like the no tax on Social Security. Well, it's really not that.
Right.
You get a credit back. I think it's a little over $6,000 that will offset and make it feel like your Social Security is tax-free. But if you make too much other money elsewhere, you can trigger taxes on that. So you also can trigger excess tax on your Medicare. So there are all these little nuances in this bill that you really have to understand what you're doing. For the business owners out there, what a great time for depreciation. So they've extended and increased all the ability to depreciate things. That's like buying equipment and buying buildings, and you can have a big write-down. So a lot of these things are in there now, but might go away in 2028. The brackets, though, are permanent. But as Adam always says,
Well, you always got to be wary of anything that the government says is permanent.
yeah, the next
is true.
administration or people in there could make them unpermanent. What's the word? It's not
Change.
unpermanent, I
Yeah,
guess.
less permanent.
Yeah, less permanent. They could change them
Well,
again.
and we've talked about this many times in the show, that there is there's a bill that's coming due, and our deficit continues to grow exponentially. I think the last time we looked was at $38 trillion. And I can't even figure that out if I was to take trillions and put them into seconds, how many years that is. And if that means, it's a mathematical question. This is not a political question, it's mathematical. And I think you said, what's the gentleman's name again, David Walker?
David Walker, yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that said, worked for two different
He
administrations.
was the Department of Treasury comptroller, so kind of like the head of the Treasury for a little
Okay.
bit.
And he worked for both Clinton and Bush.
Yep.
And he said, look, guys, we've got this thing. We keep kicking it down the road, it down the road. Well, how are they can't print more money, right?
Right.
They can't, what are they going to do? Cut, I mean, how much taxes can they, or
Yeah, we can't
spending
really
can
go
it-
down much
Right.
more, and the spending is always a challenging
So
issue.
the only real way to get it is to increase taxes.
Borrow
Yes.
more money or increase taxes, and we can't really borrow much more.
No.
But we really didn't answer your question. It's kind of like we're politicians. Her question was,
Obfuscate.
what should people be doing now? And we went into a whole rabbit hole on this other stuff. But there are a lot of things, Cynthia, from simple things like how much are you putting in your 401k?
Okay.
As we talked about, the 401k, those are the pre-tax, things that become an issue later because they're all taxable as ordinary income. We want to get money in Roth IRAs, but we don't want to go away from the 401ks, especially if we're getting a match.
Right.
That's like free
Absolutely.
money. So if there's a match up to 3%, put 3% in there. Reallocate dollars more into tax-free or other types of tax preferential vehicles. So there are a lot of little things you can do now as you plan if you're still working and not retired. And I think we're going to talk a lot in the next section about Roth conversions, which those are really exciting as well. So absolutely, now is the time to start looking at tax planning.
Well, let me say
Most
one
definitely.
other thing, too. For those of you out in the audience, if your company offers a Roth 401k, we're very much in favor of that. I would definitely put money in. And look, the whole idea behind Roth 401k was to help people save for retirement, thinking that in retirement you're going to be in a lower tax bracket.
That was the original idea, right?
Original idea. But as we well know, that's not really been the case. And while people's spending doesn't really, we've shown that people's spending first 10 years doesn't decrease, it almost increases.
True.
after.
Well,
Very
exactly.
active.
Like, I
Yeah.
think when
Yeah.
I retire, I'm not going to be able to tell my wife that, no, we can't go do the things that we didn't have time to do before, like travel the world, go see things. I think we're going to spend a lot more in that first third of our retirement.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when
Absolutely.
they created the 401k, the idea was defer these taxes because later on in life you're going to have less of a burden of income need. Well, that's just the opposite. I think now, if you look at the way things cost now in the real estate market too, Cynthia, as you know a lot
Absolutely.
about, That whole defer because we're going to be in a lower bracket later is kind of blowing up.
Yeah.
Okay, most definitely. Well, we have to take a very short commercial break. Would that be okay, gentlemen?
I guess so.
To our viewers at home, there's a number for you to call on your screen. That number is 888-462-7839, or you can grab your smartphone and click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. You're going to be scheduling an appointment to receive actually a complimentary consultation where you can have your own RIPT report written for you. It's going to cover everything about retirement, and we're going to talk about what that is in more detail. But before we take this very short commercial break, I do want to talk to you about something that you're going to also see, the maintaxbill.com. maintaxbill.com. What this website is, it's super easy to visit. Just grab your smartphone and click on the QR code. You're going to go to a website where you can create different scenarios. You can put in your income, your tax bracket, and you'll take a look at what your current obligation will be. You'll be emailed that information, and then you can bring it into the office and utilize some steps that's going to reduce your overall tax burden. Once again, it's so easy to do. maintaxbill.com, or click the QR code on your screen. We'll be right back momentarily. Don't go anywhere. We're talking about taxes in retirement. Stay tuned.
I was an accountant by trade out of school, out of Michigan State, and I absolutely hated brokers, financial advisors, whatever they wanted to call themselves. I was a tax accountant, and we would share a mutual client, and this broker would advise our mutual client to buy, sell, and never do any tax strategy, and I was left to clean up the mess. So I went to the client and said, please talk to your broker and tell him to knock this off or begin to do some strategy, and the typical broker response was, I'm not licensed to do that. I can't talk about taxes. So I basically decided to get my investment securities license and all my other licenses out of spite so that we could do all the tax planning as part of the investment strategy for our clients. The value of choice, as we always say, if you go to a big box firm, they're going to have one of 6 portfolios, let's say, and you're going to fit into one of those. The value of working with an independent advisor, especially a fiduciary like we are, is that they have to do what's in your best interest, and they can use any program that's licensed out there in America, so a huge difference. After 20 plus years on this side of the fence, I think our industry does a poor job at explaining to the public the difference of those two. I come from a culture of helping people and educating them, not just telling them what to do. So I think people that truly want to educate make a big difference in this industry.
Welcome back to the Main Money Show, where Wall Street meets Main Street. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Jordan Main and Adam Freund of Main Financial Group. And we're talking all about taxes in retirement, how you can be prepared, and some strategies that you can utilize to make sure that you're keeping more of your hard-earned dollars. But before we start, Adam, what are you doing? What are you reading there?
What
is it?
I'm reading this book written by this guy next to me right here. And it is Main Street Millionaire. It is a really good book. It's a great read. I'll tell you what, if you guys come in and come see us for the RIPT report on that second visit, we'll give you a book, and I even might get him to autograph it for you. But this is a fantastic read. And so those of you watching the show, limited time, but we got this book for you.
Yeah,
come on in.
It's a great guide. It's a little under 300 pages, and it really took all culmination of 25 plus years in this industry, and we wanted to put it all down. Adam actually helped me as well write it, so don't give me all the credit. We looked at all the clients we've worked with and client stories and successes, how that they could use some very complex strategies that Wall Street uses into what Main Street, Adam and I like to consider, we grew up as Main Street people, how they can use it to benefit from some of those strategies.
That is amazing. I think we should do one show all about the book.
I think that's a great idea.
Right? I think so too. It'd be great. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about all of the income coming in during retirement, all of these different sources. What are some tips that you can use to actually help make sure that it's more tax efficient? Because people are pulling from a variety of places for income.
Yeah.
Right. I think we talked about at the very end of the last segment about Roth IRA conversions, and that calculator that you mentioned, Cynthia, is great. Everyone can use it, and to say, that's the question. How much do I do? When do I do it? How will it affect my taxes? And this calculator we build is free for anyone. It's a great, maintaxbill.com. Is that what it is?
It is,
Adam?
maintaxbill.com.
And we actually printed out a few examples here. Let me get my spectacles on. So what we did is we took a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, and a 70-year-old.
Okay.
Same amount of money. We'd use easy math, $1 million in their retirement plan. And you can assume whatever tax bracket you want. We put 25% in. And you can assume whatever growth rate you want. We use 5%. So what this software does, or this calculator does, it shows you if you do nothing and keep the IRA and live to, 95?
95.
How much you'll pay in taxes versus if you convert to a Roth IRA, which means you're moving it from a pre-tax vehicle into a tax-free vehicle, but you have to pay tax along the way. It's called a conversion. So on the 50-year-old, $1 million, if they do nothing and live to be 95 years old, that's 45 years of living. That $1 million will cost them $2,051.
Wait, it's going to cost them more than
Almost
what they have?
twice as much as what's in the account between all the taxes that they will over that lifetime, because there's
That's
required
crazy.
distributions, there's taxes upon death, all that. Versus
gosh.
if they convert that $1 million to a Roth IRA,
Yeah.
25% is pretty easy math. That's $250,000.
$250,000.
That's
Wow.
a $1.8 million tax savings
Wow.
by just taking money from that pre-tax IRA to the Roth. The 60-year-old has a little less time to live than the 50-year-old.
Yeah.
His numbers, that $1 million IRA would cost him $1.25 million in taxes
So still more.
versus the $250,000. That's $1 million savings, right?
That's crazy.
And then the 70-year-old, a lot of 70-year-olds will think, I'm too old to do Roth conversions. Absolutely not. That $1 million will still cost that 70-year-old $764,000 of tax.
Oh my
versus converting it to a Roth now, and that same 25% bracket is $250,000.
Yep.
That's still over $500,000 of tax savings. So the Roth IRA exploration is imperative for everyone in their retirement, especially now with the third lowest taxed environment that we have.
The
Absolutely.
Shermanator called me and said, I'm 86. Should I do a Roth conversion? And at first I was like, well, and I thought, wait a second. Yes. I mean, you can do, the argument could be made, even at 86, to do a Roth conversion because if he wants to pass that money down to myself or to my sister or whomever,
Yeah.
come on, Dad. That comes to us tax-free. It's not my tax bill, it's his tax bill. If
Yeah.
you pass your IRA on to your kids, you're giving them your tax bill.
I use the analogy of it's
Wow.
the wedding analogy.
Yeah.
I know this is a bit dark, but imagine throwing your daughter the wedding of her dreams, and you're dancing in the daughter-daddy dance, and she says, Dad, that was just an unbelievable night. Thank you for everything. And you say, you're welcome, honey. Here's the bill that goes with it.
Yeah.
And that's what you do when you give your retirement account to your children. Here's the tax bill that comes with it, because all
true.
those dollars are ordinary income taxable to them, which could drill up their tax bracket on what they're paying on their other income.
Right.
It's true.
So if you don't need all of your IRA, don't give it to them in the form of a retirement account. Move it to a Roth or even some other ideas.
Most definitely. And Jordan, I do want to spend some time talking about the RIPT report, because I know that helps understand tax planning strategies so well before we take our next commercial
Absolutely.
break, please.
So the RIPT report is our version of a financial plan, a written financial plan. We think there are 4 key areas in every financial plan, and we use this funny acronym RIPT. The R is risk. Take the amount of risk that you want. How fast or slow are you driving your portfolio? Does it make sense for what you want? It has nothing to do with your age. It's your own individual tolerance. The I is the income. What if I screw up and live too long? Do I have an income plan, or is it an income guess?
Right.
Where are we getting all of our income? The P is your portfolio health. What am I paying in fees? Adam, am I doing well against the indexes? Do I have any issues with sectors? What sectors am I investing in?
Yep.
And then the T of the RIPT is what we're doing today's show on, taxes. How do we get that pesky Uncle Sam out of our retirement and out of our pocketbook?
I love that. The RIPT report, everyone needs this. To the viewers at home, the number to call is 888-462-7839, 888-462-7839, or you can grab your smartphone and click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. This is your opportunity to book that consultation today so you can have your very own RIPT report designed just for you specifically with what your needs are for your retirement years. Once again, we're going to take a very short commercial break, but that telephone number is 888-462-7839, or click the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. When we come back, we're going to do a deep dive into legacy planning. How do you leave a legacy without it being a tax burden for your heirs? Stay tuned.
According to a recent Transamerica retirement survey, over 1/3 of American workers have already dipped into their retirement savings to handle day-to-day expenses, and nearly 40% have reduced their contributions.
For those approaching retirement with significant assets, this may sound like someone else's problem, but it's a warning worth noting. Economic pressure doesn't discriminate. High net worth individuals are just as vulnerable to reacting emotionally during times of financial stress.
The key is discipline and a plan that involves with changing circumstances. Having a tax-aware, income-focused, and flexible strategy in place can help you avoid short-term mistakes that impact your long-term goals.
Because real success in retirement isn't just about what you've saved, it's how you protect and use it.
Welcome back to the Maine Money Show, where Wall Street meets Main Street. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Jordan Main and Adam Freund of Maine Financial Group. And we're talking all about taxes before retirement, during retirement, and of course after retirement. We're talking about the Roth conversion, legacy planning. All of it is tied with one big bow for you today. So gentlemen, so many things that we're going to try to squeeze into this final segment, because we want to talk about legacy planning, but we really want to talk more about the Roth as well, because so many people are saying, what about the Roth? I've never heard of the Roth. This must be something amazing for my situation.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of confusion around it because there are different ways to get money into a tax-free Roth IRA, right? So the traditional one is just make a contribution to a Roth IRA, and I think it's in 2026 about $7,500 is the contribution limit. Don't quote me on that, but I think then if you're over 50, you can put more in.
Right.
But the problem is if we make too much money collectively as a household, we can't contribute to a Roth. So a lot of times that gets thrown off the table. Then the next one that we've talked a lot about today is converting dollars from a traditional IRA, which is pre-tax, paying tax on it and putting it in a tax-free Roth, and now it grows to millions and millions of dollars never taxed again. That was what we have our calculator for. But there's a couple other ways to get into a Roth here, Adam. There are. So one of them is you can do what's called a non-deductible IRA contribution, the same limits, that's $7,500 next year or right around there. And then, so you don't get a deduction for it, you can then convert it to a Roth. They call that a backdoor Roth IRA.
And there's no income.
There's no income thresholds on that. So you didn't get the deduction up front, but you didn't care because you're just trying to get it into a Roth. The other way, though, people ask me about a mega super Roth. What is that? Well, that is for the people that have employer-sponsored plans at their company. You can put upwards of, I think it's 77 and change, or maybe 78,000 in 2026 into any type of these plans. You can choose to do a non-deductible contribution, just a non-qualified contribution, and then convert that to what they call a mega super Roth.
Wow.
So you can avoid the pre-tax 401k bomb all along and go right into the mega. So we've got backdoor Roth, mega super Roth, a traditional Roth, or the Roth conversion. Did you keep all that straight, Cynthia?
Well, in case they didn't, there's the MaineRothQuiz.com that's on the actual screen right now, the MaineRothQuiz.com. What can people find out when they visit that website? Adam, I'm going to give this to you, please.
Well, I think that we're actually talking about the MaineTaxBill.com.
Well, no, we've got Maine Roth Quiz.
Yeah, there's a quiz too. That is
new to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and actually, there's a series you go through, and then it gets us back to the tax bill as well. So it all circles around. But it helps people with some questionnaires about getting ready for retirement. And are you a candidate for Roth conversion?
I know people watch the show and they think, is Adam really that stupid?
Well, no, you were reading the book again. That's why I was
reading the book again. No, I think it's very important, though, that people understand, why do we always focus on this whole issue about getting tax-free, especially in retirement? When you're in retirement, your income can directly affect how Social Security is taxed, how much Medicare costs you. So the more that we can throw into a tax-free bucket and create income out of that tax-free bucket, guess what, folks? It doesn't show up on your IRS report, right?
Right,
I mean, it
and
doesn't-
there are a lot of other little things that as your income goes up in retirement, if you had taxable income, other deductions get phased out.
Right.
Adam just mentioned a couple, right? So the idea, how about we'll talk about, we'll call him Rick at Ford Motor. So we had a client several years ago. Everyone in Metro Detroit that works in automotive knows that like in 2011, Ford and GM said, we don't want the pensions anymore on our
Right.
books. You could take your pension as a lump sum rollover, put it into an IRA. You could also take your 401k as a rollover, put it in your IRA. And so we had a gentleman that came in and said, I'm going to convert all of this. He had about $1.7 million. I'm going to convert it all into a Roth right now. And I said, well, Rick, this was when tax rates weren't as low as they are now. So
Right.
this was 2016 before we had some of the deductions. And I said, maybe we should spread this out over a period of years. He said, nope, I'm doing it all right now. So he paid about $700,000 in taxes.
Yep.
So now he has $1 million into his Roth IRA. And then he says, I want to put it all into this new risky sector. Well, it's not really new, but
No.
excited about technology.
Yeah.
What in the world has gone on in technology the last decade, right? It's,
Right.
So his $1 million in after-tax, now tax-free Roth IRA
Yep.
has rebounded and grown to over $3 million.
Oh my goodness.
But the interesting thing is, what we did then is we put him into a guaranteed income program. It was actually a fixed index annuity that kicks him out $200,000 a year for life out of that Roth IRA. Adam, how is that $200,000 taxed?
None at all.
Zero tax.
Zero.
Wait a minute. Him and his wife are each collecting $25,000 in Social Security each. That's $50,000. How is your Social Security taxed?
Well, if there's nothing going against it, it's not
There's no other
taxed.
taxable income. A Roth
Right.
IRA does not show up on the tax return. So they
Wow.
bring in $250,000 a year and don't pay a penny of tax. And then they qualify for all these other deductions and things that we've talked about. On the flip side, my mother, who's a widow school teacher, has a taxable pension from the state of Michigan. That triggers tax on her Social Security.
Yep.
So she doesn't have a choice because she has that pension that's taxable. So all Rick did is really take money from his left pocket, move it to his right pocket, use some of the tax knowledge and code, and then it even got better for him because taxes have gone down and some of the income or the deductions have gone up.
Right.
Now our standard deduction is over $30-some thousand. So smart move. Think about taxes.
Most definitely, and people need to come in to get the Ripped Report and most importantly, Jordan, a copy of your book. To the viewers at home, we are running out of time. That number to call in is 888-462-7839, 888-462-7839, or we've made it even simpler. You can grab your smartphone, open the camera app, and click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. Be safe, be happy, and be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today on the Main Money Show, where Wall Street meets Main Street.